Hey everybody, welcome to this video Astro Alert about the upcoming eclipses. And I wanted to do a video that sort of explained a little bit about what exactly an eclipse is, what the north and the south node of the moon are, how they interrelate, so that when we approach these upcoming eclipses, you have a little bit more understanding about what exactly they are. So in order to understand what an eclipse is, you have to understand what the north and the south node of the moon are. I talk a lot about the north node in my daily Astro Alerts if you're a subscriber, and archetypally the north node of the moon is representative of our future, the Dharma movement of consciousness. The south node, its opposite, is karma, or the past. These are incredibly important in consciousness astrology, and they also mathematically are what create the eclipse experience. And since we're about to hit upon this latest eclipse season, I wanted to explain a little bit about this. So in order to understand what the north node of the moon is, we got to be a little visual here for a second. So we've got no budget, so there's no great animation to show you. You got to do this with your imagination, your mind, and my wildly waving hand. So imagine, if you will, the moon's orbit around the Earth. Okay? There's a circle of energy of the moon in its orbit around the Earth. And just keep that sort of in your mind's eye. Now, simultaneously, imagine the orbit of the Earth and the moon around the sun. That's another circle of energy. And now, put them together and picture in your mind's eye a sense of this circle of the moon's orbit around the Earth crossing paths with the Earth's movement around the sun. It's like a sweet spot with the two circles of energy. That's the orbit of the moon around the Earth, and then the orbit of the Earth around the sun. Where they cross is the north node of the moon. So if you are on Earth looking up at that sweet spot, the point behind it, or beyond it in terms of the 360-degree ecliptic, is going to be the degree point at which we say the north node of the moon is. Right now, the north node of the moon happens to be in the sign of Libra, which means the south node of the moon is in the sign of Aries. The north and the south node of the moon stay in a sign for about 18 months, which, if you do the math, you'll see that the entire zodiac is circumnavigated by the nodes of the moon in about a 19-year cycle. Now, why this connects to the eclipses? It's because of the alignment and the orientation of the entire system is such that when the sun is near to either the south or the north node, the full moon and the new moon of that particular moment of the year causes a shadow to pass in between the relentless light passage from the sun out to the moon reflecting back at it. We call that an eclipse. The eclipses happen every 6 months like clockwork, and if you can just sort of imagine that it's because of the kind of alignment of the whole system in the direction of the north or the south node that creates the eclipse, and understand that the north node is the archetypal point that represents the future as we're moving into it, and the south node is the past as we're moving away from it, or the karma we are cleaning up, you can, I think, hopefully better understand the notion that the breaking of the beam of light that is the eclipse is a significant moment in the evolution of the consciousness of us on the planet as the human organism evolving. The eclipse is like a reboot moment. Think of that, again, I love that word, relentless. The relentlessness of the light of the sun shining out into space, being constantly reflected back to it by the Earth and the moon. And when the shadow of one of the bodies, either the Earth in front of the moon or the moon in front of the sun, happens, that shadow moment is a breaking of the beam. It's a reboot. It's like turning the computer of our consciousness off and on. So if you've just gone out over the last, say, 6 months between the last eclipse and now, and you bought a whole bunch of software programs, the software program of this forgiveness, that resentment cleaned up, this new piece of consciousness you've been working on, that practice in your spiritual journey that you have been seeking to have a better experience of your life. It's at the eclipse moment when the whole system is turned off for a second and then rebooted so that you can integrate all that you have learned over the last 6 months. That's what happens during an eclipse. And it is this archetypal meaning of the North Node as representing our forward movement into the future that is so sort of part of the experience of why the eclipses help move us into the future. It's because the rebooting happens and we are sort of thrust on our way into the new territory of consciousness that we are so busy creating. So the upcoming full moon solar eclipse happens this sort of Monday, Tuesday, the 14th, 15th of April. It technically happens on Tuesday the 14th at about 12:41 a.m. So right after midnight on Tuesday. That's, of course, Pacific time. So that's in the middle of the night for those of you on the east and over the pond in Europe and South Africa. And for those of you down under, this is the next day, sort of in the morning. The new moon or solar eclipse happens on April 28th, and this is at, oh, I had to make notes, 11:13 p.m. So the night of April 28th is the new moon solar eclipse, and these always happen in pairs, lunar and solar, sometimes solar and lunar, depending on the position of the nodes. And the two of them together are a moment of rebooting the consciousness and moving forward. I'm about to give on Friday the 11th at 6 p.m. Pacific time a conference call about the month of April that's going to include a lot of detail about what's happening with these two eclipses and the peaking of the cardinal grand cross that's happening April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd in between these two eclipses. So now you understand why things are feeling so intense right now. And if you want to get on board with that and join me for the call, you can go to my website and register, michaellennox.com. That's michaellennox.com. Register for the call on Friday night. You do not have to be present on the call to receive the MP3 audio file of that. It'll be available. Anybody who registers for the call will receive the MP3 even if you register after Friday evening. And while you're there, sign up for my newsletter so you can get wind of all of the events that I'm doing and any of the articles that I am writing. But do join me for this moment of just sharing with you some of the details so that we can all get through this crazy, crazy energy with a little bit more grace and ease. Thank you for joining me for this video, Astro Alert, and I hope you have a deeper understanding of what an eclipse is. Blessings to you all.